Hello, I'm Danny. Thanks for having me. I should say Iman, who was going to speak words for Tell Mama, which is an organisation which works to support the Muslim community, in particular those that suffer anti-Muslim hatred. So if you want to look up the work of Tell Mama, it's really impressive, and you can have a look at their website. I'm here to talk about anti-Semitism, and I'm going to talk about anti-Semitic hate incidents, attitudes, ideas, myths, and stories. So anti-Semitism is anti-Jewish racism. It's a perception of Jews which is targeted as a hatred towards Jews. There's about 270,000 Jews in the UK. It's not that many, but the incident levels are high and they're rising. So this shows you, I don't think you can quite see the years, but all the way from 2007 to 2018, and the trajectory is up. And it used to be that the CST, which is an organisation which records the data on anti-Semitism, would record about 50 anti-Semitic incidents a month. Now it's recording about 100 every month. And it used to be there would be a big spike according to a particular incident. Sometimes it was a war in the Middle East that would spike. It would return back to normal levels. But now it's going up and it's staying up. The incident figures for 2019 were just released, and there were 1,805 incidents. Majority, as we heard, was actually just abuse, was people shouting abuse, but there was an uplift in the number of violent assaults. Now, people feel fairly positive about Jews when asked. So you see very favourable, somewhat favourable. People in Britain, this was a survey of 5,000 people, asked about Jews, they think they're all right. But ask them some different things about Jews and you get a better understanding of what people think. So there were positive statements put to people. A British Jew is just as British as any other British person. And negative statements. Jews exploit Holocaust victimhood for their own purposes. Jews have too much power in Britain. Now you put those to people, we find that about 2.4% of Britain agrees with about 7 questions, and we'd call them anti-Semites, anti-Jewish racists, right? They believe in all of the negative stereotypes of Jews, but up to 30% believe in one of those statements. Right? Most people may be a little bit racist. They might have a racist thought. It's all about whether they challenge those racist thoughts. So 30% of Britain, we think, hold an anti-Semitic attitude. That doesn't make them anti-Jewish racists. It means they hold an anti-Jewish attitude or opinion. Maybe they heard it somewhere. Maybe no one ever challenged them. They weren't educated. But that's where we are in Britain today. Now, anti-Semitism has a long history to it. Okay? Jews aren't just considered lowly, verminous, stupid. They're considered all-powerful, to have been instrumental in running banks and movie studios and what have you. And this, some believe, is tracked back to the suggestion that Jews killed Jesus, something the Pope stated had no basis in religious scripture. But because Jews were considered to have killed a god, they were considered all-powerful. Now that conspiracy theory was picked up, and it's a powerful story, so it's been used over the ages, again and again and again. Jews as all-powerful. And here, you see a Nazi magazine. This is a magazine from 1943, and you've got Britain being eaten by America, being eaten by the USSR, and behind it all is the Jew. One eats the other, and the Jew devours them all. But that didn't stop there. In the 60s, the National Socialist movement had a banner in Trafalgar Square, "Free Britain from Jewish Control." And nowadays, where do we see it? Online. Same thing as the Nazi magazine. ISIS dude comes from America, but behind them all is the grotesque stereotype of the Jew. Now online, the problem is that the conspiracy theorists don't live alone. The conspiracy theorists mix with white supremacists, they mix with misogynists, they mix with other hate figures, and there's this big melting pot online. And so we're finding that anti-Semitism is spread online constantly, every day. And what's the impact of that? Well, if you see it online, that's one thing. It feels quite personal. You see it on your phone, it has an impact on you. But if you see it then, the conspiracy theory, on the street, near a synagogue in Leeds, Jews did 9/11, then it has an impact on all the people walking to the synagogue, back from the synagogue. If you see There's an expletive, Jews, Soros, traitors. You see the conspiracy theories on a fence by your house. Maybe it's you that's targeted. You have a direct impact. Maybe you see a conspiracy theory on a student blackboard talking about the Holocaust was an inside job, right? The conspiracy theories that we're seeing online are starting to play out in the real world. They played out in Pittsburgh, where there was a shooting inside a synagogue. They played out in Halle, where you see a far-right attack on Jewish and other individuals. The conspiracy theories that I talk about all the way back through the years, the 60s, the 40s, going all the way back, they're playing out today, and they're playing out particularly online in a very pernicious way. Now, the impact, as I say, is very large, but there are other impacts. In recent years, what we've seen is when Jewish people say there's a problem, there's an issue, well, that's all made up. That's a smear. That's weaponized for some political purpose. That has a real impact because it undermines, we heard about the Macpherson principles before, about the Stephen Lawrence case. We learned something. We learned that when people report racism, you take them seriously. You listen to them. You investigate their concerns properly and with due diligence. And when you say, that's all made up, it's just one person, that's tiny numbers, that has an impact. It makes people feel that they aren't trusted, that their case isn't genuine, that no one's going to be listening to them. And so, what do we do about that? What works? Well, we have to make sure that the authorities do the best that they can do. I mean, I was listening to you hearing about the lack of faith or trust sometimes in the police, in some of the local authorities, the MPs and others. That's what we try and work to combat. We try and work with parliamentarians and others to improve our official address for anti-Semitism. And for example, we work with the Judicial College to ensure that the bench book, the training book for judges, was improved in what it said to them about anti-Semitism, so they can learn more, right? And there's work that we do that I think benefits other communities too. So when anti-Semitism was disaggregated from the police hate statistics, now anti-Muslim hate has also been separated out. So there are wider benefits. The other thing is to stand in solidarity. You can't believe how important it is. If somebody says something that is horrible, stand up. Stand up and say something. Very simple. And I've got my 2-minute warning, so just to finish up. Innovation and education just cannot be underestimated. I hear what was being said before about we're always having to educate, right? And how much good has it done? That's our challenge. For me, that's what I have to do every single day, go and talk to another person. So at the moment, we have to innovate. So we came up with some short videos about anti-Semitism that you can find online. Google an actor. There's a guy called Marlon Solomon. Right, if you Google him, find him on YouTube, look at our Twitter, Anti-Sem Policy, you'll find the videos. I think they're quite good. We need to learn about how to challenge various forms of hate. There's a group called Stop Funding Fake News. There's another group called the Countering Hate Online Institute. And they say, don't feed the trolls. So when people hate online, don't start combating them. Don't keep going back at them. Don't give them more ammunition. So we'll learn. We'll try and be innovative. We try and build in systems where we know that people have trust, that we trust they understand the hate that we're going through, and we'll try and educate. But it's not a one-day job. It's a constant battle, and we have to keep on going. Thanks for listening.